that our security may be lost piece by piece, country by country, without the firing of a single missile or the crossing of a single border.
After which you can simply take your enemy without a single shot being fired. The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy.
But let's be clear. The John Brennans, Adam Schiffs, and the oligarchs in big tech who are trying to undermine our constitutionally protected rights and turn our country into a police state with KGB-style surveillance are also domestic enemies, and much more powerful and therefore dangerous.
These fascists on the right.
John Brennan said,
and they gain strength, and it brings together an unholy alliance frequently of religious extremists, authoritarians, fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
I want you to listen to a 1943 pamphlet that was written for the communists in America on how to deal with dissent. See if this rings a bell.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable buildups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
Fascists, bigots, racists, nativists, even libertarians.
The President of the United States is a racist, flat out racist. This president has said and done so many insensitive and bigoted and racist things.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black. You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to. You are in a state of war. It's the system, however ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy. Whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility. There is no other place on this planet to defect to.
Now, President Biden, I call upon you and all members of Congress from both parties to denounce these efforts by the likes of Brennan and others to take away our civil liberties that are endowed to us by our Creator and guaranteed in our Constitution.
It is a lecture video given by Thomas Schumann. His real name is Yuri Bezmenov. He gave this lecture back in 1980s. It is a great lecture that helps us in understanding the current political scenario both around the world as well as in our own country. After watching this, you will be able to relate what is happening today in many Western societies like America and Europe. And unfortunately, it is also happening in India.
On the stage of demoralization, obviously, there are tendencies in each society, in each country, which are going to opposite direction from the basic moral values and principles, to take advantage of these movements, to capitalize on them. So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations,
unions, and finally we have law and order. These are the areas of application of subversion. In case of religion, destroy it. Education, distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare, natural food, home economy, your sexuality, anything, as long as it takes you away, power structure, bodies of administration, which are traditionally either elected by people at large or appointed by elected leaders of society, are being actively substituted by artificial bodies, the bodies of people, groups of people whom nobody elected. One of such group is media. Who elected them? How come they have so much power, almost monopolistic power on your mind? They can rape your mind. But who elected them? How come they have a nerve to decide what is good and what is bad for the elected by you, president, and his administration? Power structure slowly is eroded by the bodies and groups of people who do not have neither qualification nor the will of people to keep them in power, and yet they do have power. Law enforcement, law and order organization and structure is being eroded. A criminal looks nice, kind of, well, he smokes hash and shoots the whatever drug, but basically he's a nice human being. He's creative. And he's unproductive only because society oppresses him. A policeman is a pig, rude policeman. He abuses his power. No? A generalization like that. When I was working for Novosti Press, we would snow plow editorial offices, student organizations, religious groups with literature of class struggle. If not directly Marxist-Leninist propaganda, then a propaganda of a legitimate aspirations of working class, betterment of life, equality. Equality, mind you. President Kennedy once said, we will make America to believe that people are born equal. Are people born equal? What you do is important, the merit of your personality. You cannot legislate equality. If you want to be equal, you have to be equal. You have to deserve it. And yet we build our society on the principle of equality. We say people are equal. We know it is false. It's a lie. Some people are tall and stupid. Others are short, bold, and clever. And we, as Soviet propaganda makers, are trying to push you in the direction which you go yourself. Equality. Yes, equality. People are equal. Land of equal opportunities. Should there be equal opportunities? For me, and for a lazy bastard who comes here from some other country and immediately registers as a welfare recipient benefits?
These centers are also offering help to undocumented folks with eligible children. So any child with a social security number is eligible. Do not count yourself out because if a parent and guardian is undocumented. You just need your individual taxpayer identification number or your ITIN. So please help us, help you, help us, help each other, and make sure you access the tools. These checks are supposed to start hitting our bank accounts next week. If you received a stimulus check, then you should be good. But if you still need to sign up for your portal, make sure you access it.
I never received a single no, sorry, I did receive once. But I never applied for welfare. For the 13 years, I took any job. Security guard, journalist, taxi driver, anything. I'm considering myself a law-abiding citizen. And a person who comes here to rob and shoot, say the United States administration under Carter, imported thousands of Cuban criminals. They were non-criminals, yet they were accepted. Do you think it's fair if myself and my wife from Philippines who work like a, horse as a lab technician in the hospital should have the same rights as a criminal from Cuba? Why? And yet we repeat as parrots, equality, equality, equality. And the Soviet propaganda system helps us to believe that equality is something which is desirable. Democracy, as it was established by fathers of this country, of this system in the last century, is not equality. It's the system where different people, unequal people, have a chance to survive and help each other in constant competition, in constant perfection, not in equality, which is superimposed from a godfather or a nice person in Washington, D.C.
What do the race and gender of intelligence agency employees have to do with keeping America safe? Well, they never told us. Instead, they repeated something that we had heard once or twice before. They said, diversity is our strength.
Knowing our diversity is our strength and our unity is our power.
And I say to them, our diversity is our strength.
Our diversity, our patchwork heritage is not a weakness. It is still and always will be one of our greatest strengths.
Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths.
I think this is an opportunity to establish that out of our diversity comes an enormous, enormous strength.
The moment you bring a country to the point of almost total demoralization, when nothing works anymore, when you are not sure whether it is right or wrong, good and bad, but there's no division between evil and good, when even the leaders of church sometimes say, well, violence for the sake of justice, especially social justice, is justified in countries like Nicaragua, El Salvador, well, maybe Rhodesia, and we listen to them and say, yeah, probably it's true. Is it true? No, it is not true. Violence is not justified, especially for the sake of quote-unquote social justice introduced by Marxist-Leninists, that is my former colleagues from Novosti Press Agency. Okay. To destabilize all the relations, all the accepted institutions and organizations in a country of your enemy. How you do it? You don't have to send a battalion of KGB agents to blow up bridges. No. You let them do it themselves. The area of application here is narrowing down to economy, to law and order. Economy, law and order. Yes, and again, the media, here it's radicalization. On the stage of destabilization, we cannot come to compromise even within a family. The husband and wife couldn't figure out which is better. Husband wants his kids to eat at the table, and wife wants a child to roam around the room and drop food all over the floor. They cannot come to compromise unless they start a fight. It's impossible to reach a compromise, constructive compromise between neighbors. Radicalization of human relations. No more compromise. Fight, fight, fight. The normal, traditionally accepted relations are destabilized. The relations between teachers and students in schools and colleges. Fight. The relations between, in economical sphere, between laborers and employers are further radicalized. Militarization sometimes. We cannot solve our problems anymore. The society at large becomes more and more antagonistic between individuals, between groups of individuals, and the society at large. The media puts himself in the opposition to the society in general, at large. Action. The sleepers go up. They slept for 15 to 20 years. Now they become leaders of groups, preachers, I don't know, public figures. Prominently they actively include themselves in a political process. All of a sudden we see a homosexual. 15 years ago he did his job and nobody cared. Now he makes it a political issue. He demands recognition, respect, human rights, and he rallies a large group of people. And there are violent clashes between him and police, his group, no matter what. It's black against white, yellows against green, doesn't matter. where the division line goes. As long as this group come into antagonistic clash, sometimes militantly, sometimes with firearms, that is destabilization process. The sleepers, many of whom are simply KGB agents, become leaders of the process of destabilization.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another. We can't be certain, but it's hard to believe this radical agenda is what most signed up for when they made that hashtag Black Lives Matter social media post, or that every employee, customer, or shareholder at Nike endorses a disruption of the family.
The person who takes care is already here. He is a respected citizen of the United States. Sometimes he gets money from various foundations for his legitimate struggle for, I don't know, human rights, women's rights, kid lib, prison lib, whatever. There are sympathetic Americans who donate their money to him. This stabilization process usually leads directly to the process of crisis. When the legitimate bodies of power, the social structure collapse, it cannot function anymore. So instead, we have artificial body injected into society, such as non-elected committees who are not elected by people, media who are self-appointed rulers of your opinion, some strange groups which claim that they know how to lead society forward. They don't usually. All they care is how to collect donations and sell their own concocted ideology.
This is how far out of control Portland is. Listen.
Hello. We come to you as a small collective from within the anarchist and anti-fascist community. We do not speak for the whole, as each individual may carry different ideologies and beliefs about how things could, should, or will be accomplished. The mayor of this city is undeserving of his position. He has made it abundantly clear that windows to him are more important than human lives. But we are not just challenging the idea of having Ted as a mayor. This movement encompasses the liberation of all those oppressed by the system, whether it be black, indigenous, Hispanic, etc. Ted, we are asking for the last time that you resign. If you ignore this message outright, the destruction to your precious way of life is going to escalate. Blood is already on your hands, Ted, but next time, it may just be your own.
Okay. It ends with the address of the mayor's house.
Here, we have all this artificial body claiming power. If the power is denied to them, they take it by force. In case of Iran, for example, all of a sudden we have revolutionary committees. What kind of revolution? There was no revolution yet, and yet they had the committees. They were taking power of judgment. They had the power of execution, they had the power of legislation, and that they had the power of judicial. All of them combined in one person, who is half-baked intellectual, sometimes graduated from Harvard University or Berkeley. He comes back to his country and he thinks that he knows the answer to all the social, economical problems. Okay? Crisis is when society cannot function any more productively. It collapses, obviously. That's the word for crisis. So therefore, the population at large is looking for a savior. The religious groups are expecting a messiah to come. The workers say, we have family to feed. Let's have a strong government, maybe socialist government, centralized. We need some strong man, strong government, a leader. A savior is needed. Population is sick and tired already. And here we are. We have a savior. Either a foreign nation comes in, or the local group of leftists, Marxists, no matter what they call themselves. So we have two alternatives here. civil war, and invasion. Civil war, we know what it is. Lebanon is the best example. The civil war, which was artificially implanted in Lebanon by injection of force of PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization. Invasion we have in many other countries like Afghanistan, name any East European country, it was invaded by the Soviet army. But the result is the same. The next stage is normalization. It is borrowed from 1968 situation in Czechoslovakia, when the Soviet propaganda and after them New York Times declared the country is normalized. The tanks moved into Prague, so there is no more Prague Spring, there is no more violence. Normalization. This is the reverse from destabilization. Basically, it is stabilizing the country by force. So all the sleepers and activists and social workers and liberals and professors and Marxists and Leninists are being eliminated physically sometimes. They've done their job already. Okay? They are not needed anymore. The new rulers need stability to exploit the nation, to exploit the country, to take advantages of the victory. Okay? So no more revolutionaries, please. And that's exactly what happens in a number of countries. You remember Bangladesh? This is the crisis in which I was instrumental. First they had Mujibur Rahman. In 1971 he was the leader of People's Party, Awami League, with mustache like Stalin. He was in Russia many times. In 5 years he was shot by his former colleagues, Marxists. He fulfilled his function. In Afghanistan it happened 3 times. First there was Taraki, then there was Amin, now there's Babrak Karmal. They killed each other successively, one after another. The moment he fulfills his duty, the first one demoralized country, the second destabilized, the third one brought it to crisis. Goodbye, comrades. Babrak Karmal comes from Moscow and put into the seat of power. Same thing happened in Grenada recently. Maurice Bishop, Marxist, was killed by Austin, what's his name, General something, who was also a Marxist. Right? So no more revolutions, please. Normalization now. Democratic proletarian freedom. At this point, it does not take military invasion of the United States Army. It takes strong action, like in Chile. A CIA covert involvement to prevent the savior from outside to come into power and to stabilize country before it erupts into civil war. Okay? Support the right-wing conservative forces. By money, by crooks or love, doesn't matter. Stabilize the country. Don't let the crisis develop into civil war or invasion. Do not allow them to take political force. Do not elect them to the seats of power, whether it is municipality level, state level, or federal level. You cannot subvert Soviet Union because the borders are closed. The media is censored by the government. The population is controlled by the KGB and internal police. I don't want America to follow the pattern of ancient Japan. You don't have to shoot every foreigner when it approaches the sacred borders of the United States. But when he offers you a junk in the disguise of very shiny something, you have to tell him, no, we have our own junk. The most difficult and at the same time the simplest answer to the subversion is to start it here and even before, by bringing back the society to religion, something that you cannot touch and eat and put on yourself, but something that rules society and makes it move and preserve it. A Soviet scientist, Shafarevich, who has nothing to do with religion, he's a computer scientist, did a very intensive research on the history of socialist countries. He calls socialist or communist any country with a centralized economy and a pyramidal style of power structure. And he discovered, actually he didn't discover it, he just brought to attention of his readers, that civilizations like Mohenjo-Daro in the river Indus area like Egypt, like Maya, Incas, like Babylonian culture, collapsed and disappeared from the surface of Earth. The moment they lost religion, as simple as that, they disintegrated. The ideas are moving society and keeping mankind as a society of human beings, intelligent, moral agents of God. Have you ever met a person who would sacrifice his life, freedom, for the truth like that? This is truth. I never met a person who said, this is truth and I'm ready to shoot me. To defend the truth. Right? But millions sacrifice their life, freedom, comfort, everything for things like God, like Jesus Christ. It's an honor. Some martyrs in the Soviet concentration camp died. And they died in peace, unlike those who shouted, "Long live Stalin," knowing perfectly well that he may not live long. Something which is not material moves society and helps it to survive. And the other way around, the moment we turn into 2 by 2 is 4 and make it a guiding principle of our life, our existence, we die. Even though this is true, and this we cannot prove. We only can feel and have faith in it. So the answer to ideological subversion, strangely enough, is very simple. You don't have to shoot people, you don't have to aim missiles and Pershings and cruise missiles at Andropov's headquarters. You simply have to have faith and prevent subversion. In other words, not to be a victim of subversion. Don't try to be a person who in judo is trying to smash your enemy and being caught by your hand. Don't strike like that. Strike with the power of spirit and moral superiority. If you don't have that power, it's high time to develop it. And that's the only answer.
Joe Biden's like, you know what? They're protesting because of COVID virus. No, they're not. Listen to what they're shouting in the streets. Listen to them. I don't understand it. Check another crowd. What are they saying? Crowd have to... Okay, what is this one? I still can't quite make it out there. I think they're saying maybe a leotard. Leotard. Is that what they're saying? Leotard? Yeah. I don't know why they're chanting. It's not leotard. Oh, it's Spanish for freedom. Huh. Well, who would have guessed that? So our government is describing them as anti-government. No, I don't think they are. You know who's anti-government? Antifa. They're anti-government. They want to abolish all government.
We are challenging the idea of having mayors at all. We want abolition.
Okay? They're anti-government. I think the people in Cuba are anti-communist, fascistic, totalitarian government. I think that's the difference. They're not saying, give me liberty with no government. No, they're not saying that. They're saying, hey, government's out of control. How about we get rid of the dictators? That's what they're saying. No more communism. Hey, the socialized healthcare system, not really working out for us. I think that's what they're saying. To the Cuban people, we support you. We are fighting what you fought for the last few decades. We are fighting the beginnings of it here. We support you. We need your support as well. There are people who are raising their hands in the air all over the world, screaming for liberty and freedom. There is a group of people from Hong Kong to Washington, D.C., to Havana, all over the world. Freedom from oppressive governments. We support you. I'm walking through a store and this woman comes racing up to me and she's like, "You're Glenn Beck." I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She had a heavy accent. She was from Poland. She said the same thing that everyone from behind the Iron Curtain or every Cuban or every Venezuelan has said to me in the last 15 years. What's wrong with America? We came here for freedom. Don't you guys realize there's no place to go after this? Where are we going after this? I escaped from that.
Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to.
Meanwhile, our government officials are meeting with Nicolas Maduro. Top officials of the Democratic Socialists of America met with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Friday. The chairperson of the National Political Committee of the DSA. Now, see, you know what's weird is the DSA was like, no, we want Sweden. Then why aren't they over in Sweden? Talking to the prime minister of Sweden, who's like, by the way, we're not a socialist country. I just wanted you to know that. They say they wanted Sweden. They don't want what's happening in Venezuela. Why then are you talking to the dictator of Venezuela?
Over the weekend, more struggles as Biden pulled out 2 no cards in an unsuccessful attempt to answer a pretty simple, basic, fundamental question. This is like a softball. You just knock it right out of the park. And today, yet again, he struggled to get words out during his one and only publicly scheduled event. Such a tough schedule he has. Take a look.
We went for 2 reasons. One, to
just keep counting. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000. Maybe when you get to 10 1,000, Joe will speak.
bring Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell, as I said at the time.
And by the way, Joe, you opposed the raid to get bin Laden. Everyone can see he is in really bad shape. Our allies see it, our enemies see it. The majority now of the American people, they're seeing it. Now things are so bad, Joe needs the help of no cards, even after briefings with his staff less than an hour prior. Now, Joe's not calling the shots. He's not making decisions. Instead, it appears that he's just trying to barely get through that one scheduled event a day.
Do you support gay marriage?
No. Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage. We do not support that. That is basically a decision to be able to be left to the faiths and people who practice their faith, the determination what you call it. The bottom line, though, is, and I'm glad to hear the governor, I take her at her word, obviously, that she thinks there should be no civil rights distinction, none whatsoever, between a committed gay couple and a committed heterosexual couple. If that's the case, we really don't have a difference.
President, I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology. Believe me.
Are you proud to be an American?
No. Not really. Not most of the time.
No. I think most of the time, no. Can you name a better country than the United States in your opinion? I'm not sure if I can.
I don't think I can.
I mean, there's probably a really tiny European country that's thriving.
Ooh, good question. Europe?
Europe's not a country.
There is no country on the entire planet that is more inclusive and more accepting of all people from all different races, genders, and creeds than America is. There is no country that takes in the amount of immigrants, refugees, creating an oasis of freedom like America does. These small European countries, for the most part, a lot of them are ethno-states. They have very, very little net incoming immigration, and to pretend as if there are these inclusive places, free of any discrimination whatsoever, is such a fallacy, yet we have teachers within the academic system that are corrupting the minds of our youth, convincing them it's despicable and it lacks any type of common sense, any logic whatsoever.
As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. If you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay too. But if you're not happy, you can leave.
Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to.